Ezekiel 9:4. Part 1, the mother letters. 3 mother letters. The 3 mother letters: Shin, S, fire; S, high frequency, the tongue; Aleph, A, air, variable; Ah, mid frequency, throat; Mem, M, water and earth; M, low frequency, with the lips. These 3 letters are called mothers in the secret of Shin, Aleph, Mem. Their mothers. Their mother. This is because all other letters, sounds, and principles exist only as a direct result of these first 3 letters, as all other letters require the lips, throat, and tongue to produce their sounds. We will begin with the mother letters individually, then discuss their principle. Shalom. Just a moment, please, folks. If you will, this is the time to look at your cross and look at the mother letter section in the center. Okay, 320. The letter Aleph. In English, this is the letter A when it is used. Hebrew word for air, avir, ayur. And similar in English, we see words air, breathe, atmosphere. We see it used as a variable in the case of eretz, land. We also see it used in words like bag to denote a variable within, or anything, or variable, and other such words. Understand each and every letter in a word denotes a specific principle in its function. This letter corresponds to the sound ah, is equated with the throat, which takes in air, variables, whether breathing air, eating or drinking, or speaking variables. The letter mem in English is the letter M. It's written in 2 ways. In Hebrew, denoting separate principle. The first mem will be discussed. It's the image of water, from which we get the word mayim, water. This is the secret of the verse I named you, Moshe, I found you in the water. As Moshe begins with M, mem. In English, we see M used in water in the words marina, milk, mouthwash, mercury. Out of his mouth, the sound of many waters. Similarly, waters of the mind, or waters of emotion. The letter mem, earth. We see this in the Hebrew word Adam, and it is known Adam was made from the dust of the ground. In English, M, we see this in the word mountain, man, money, masonry, mall, army. Though mem is written in 2 ways, representing water and earth, respectively, we find they are united in principle, as will be demonstrated, and understand they are always united as one. I put in the word always, apologies, but they are. And understand that they are united as one. The principles of mem, understand it was stated these 2 are together. Similarly, we see land and sea. The mouth takes in both liquids and solids. The stomach processes liquids and solids. We see this in words like marine core, which identifies it deals in both land and sea. The letter shin, fire. In English, S. We see this in the Hebrew word for fire is aish. Similarly, that which is placed into a fire is reduced to aish. In English, we see this in the words sword, forged in the fire, sun, star, solar, spirit, soul. I asked the angel, why is shin on top? The angel responded, it was given as a covering for the light. I asked, how may I know this? And he said to me, shh, covering for the light. Similarly, I is like a flaming fire. It sounds, the tongue, high frequency. The principle is a covering for the light, and in Hebrew we see this demonstrated in words like yelevish, to put on. In English, shadow, shade, shirt, shoes, shorts, sheath. Similarly, a sheath is a covering for the light in the instance of a sword, which is forged in the fire. And so, it is a covering for the light. Shadow. Similarly, a shadow is a covering for the light. Shirts. Similarly, a shirt is a covering for the body, as with shorts and shoes. A flash. And similarly, during a flash, there is a covering of the light. The principle is that Aleph separates mem from shin. Such is the mystery of the Holy of Holies, as the menorah, which is fire, shin, separated from the shewbread mem by Aleph, the altar of incense. This law of existence was before light, as this too is divided in its likeness, as yellow Aleph mixes with both red shin and blue mem, dividing the seasons, summer shin from winter and fall mems by spring Aleph. It's beyond time and space, as will be demonstrated by every planet, solids and liquids, separated from a central star, Shin by space Aleph, Aleph Mem Shin. Every creature in existence will be determined by its aspects, including what would later be the design of the individual partsufs or constructs. In the image of Aleph separating Mem from Shin, this being the tree of life, which the constructs are in the image of. Every planet will be liquids and solids Mem, separated from a centralized star Shin by space Aleph. And if it has life, it will be land and sea, separated from stars by space in every corner of the universe, Aleph Mem Shin. And if it has no life, it will be a solid mass, Mem, separated from a centralized star, Shin by space, Aleph. This means that before existence or a dimension existed, principles first existed, and these principles are above both time and space, as will be further demonstrated. Every body will be divided by this principle as the head that sees and transmits information via the light, Shin, will be separated from the stomach, processing solids and liquids together, Mem and Mem Sofit, by the lungs, Aleph, breathing the air. And it will be for every form in existence, including dinosaurs, further demonstrating this principle is beyond both time and space. Every animal, bird, insect, fish will all be divided in this likeness, demonstrating the quantum nature of these principles that precede creation. It's written, I have kept the Lord before me at all times, and so the conscious recognition of his awe places him before us at all times. He is one, and we, and this universe, are one. Face is divided in the same likeness. The eyes, Shin, see the light, are separated from the mouth, Mem, solids and liquids, by the nose, breathing, Aleph, air. It will be like this for every creature in existence. Whether an alien, animal, angel, demon, or any other thing placed before you, it will be above all things the reflection of this principle, and by default less than the principle itself. As such, every god that has an image in a religion will be under these principles, and thus less than and unified by the source of all. This principle will be touched upon and expounded upon later in section 4. Every plant in existence will utilize photosynthesis, Shin, covered by its respective absorbed light, separated from its roots, Mem, taking in liquids and solids, by its leaves, Aleph, converting atmospheric substance. Whether grass, tree, bush, kelp, or otherwise, its likeness will be after this principle, and there is no division. Us and the environment we live in are one, being able to consciously recognize divinity in existence is the gift of the king. It is written in the beginning of wisdom is YIRAH, awe of Hashem. The first of the 7 double letters, they gathered into Tav, T-T-H, the infinite expansive infinality, crown jewel, cross, the hand of God. We see it in Hebrew and used in definite article in the example of eight, which has no translation in English. In English, this is seen in words like thought, from your hand of God to your hand. Birth, were received by the hand of the Almighty. At death, were received by the hand of the Almighty. As it's written in Ezekiel, they will be marked, toe, in the secret of the letters. As stated earlier, this was the mystery of the high priest, who would blend these principles with each other during the maintenance of the Holy of Holies, and in the same likeness reenact the secret of creation. 7 double letters. We just explained the mystery of the letter Tav. It should be understood that each pairing of the mother letters created one of the 7 double letters. Further, it should be understood that the letter Tav, having both the T and TH sound, cannot be pronounced without all 3 sounds except the tongue be bridled, and so it is between the teeth. Va. We've seen examples as thought, think, birth, death, faith. We also see clear examples of the word theos, theology, both having to do with deity. The second of the 7 double letters, bait, B, house. In Hebrew, we see this in the word bait, which means house. In English, it's seen in the words bag, book, boss, blessing, bank, countless others. We'll now examine this principle in depth. The letter B cannot be pronounced without the mouth and the throat. Similarly, Mem and Aleph, being Mem and Aleph, were blended together and produced the second of the 7 double letters, bait. Know ye not that your body is the house of the Lord? Aleph blended with Mem and created bait. This principle states air houses water. This can be seen in the clouds in the sky, which are air that houses water. Similarly, this is demonstrated in the word breath, as the letter B signifies bait to us that breath is air that houses water. Indeed, this will be with all that breathe. Similarly, we can see this principle in words such as boiling, by which water houses air is converted into air that houses water. This principle is also in reverse in that water also houses air. It's clearly seen when we analyze water and realize the chemical composition is H2O, thus water houses air. We see this utilized by fish, as will be later demonstrated by the letter Nun. In English, we can see this in words such as bubble, where we see water housing air, and similarly submarine. Thus, the letter B has these principles and is demonstrated in words such as baby, housed in water, bathe in water, body, primarily water, baptize in water, bottle, etc. Third of the 7 double letters, Gimel, in English is the letter G and denotes to progress. It cannot be produced but by the tongue, and it was bound with shin and placed to that side. In Hebrew, we see this in the word for camel, gemel, as they were a mode of transportation. In English, we see these in words like go, going, gain, gas, gasoline. The letters shin and aleph blended and created the letter gimel. Similarly, we see that the aleph, air, progress, gimel, fire, shin. In English, we see this principle in words such as grow, by which air and light are needed to progress. We see its principle that with aleph in words like gas. We will find in every environment there will be a direct interaction between the light shin and the air aleph. Furthermore, they will be necessary to the progression gimel of all. Fire progressed by air. This principle is seen clearly when we analyze the word glow, which is a light shin progressed gimel in the atmosphere aleph. It's also seen in the word gasoline, by which fire is progressed into air. We also see that fire consumes the air, and similarly we see that the atmosphere is absorbed by shin, as it is with our atmosphere and the heat. The fourth of the 7 double letters, kaf, in English, this is the letter C and denotes to carry. Similarly, we see in words such as cup, which denotes to carry to the mouth. It's also seen in words such as carry, clap, etc. The sound of this letter C, like gemel, cannot be pronounced without the tongue, as it was bound in that place to that side. We'll analyze this principle in depth. The principle we see is that light, shin, will be covering kaf upon solids, mem, sophi. We see this clearly in the word color, which is a light covering upon solids. We also see in words camera, which captures light upon solids. Clothes, which act as a covering for the light. Crayon, by which one colors light upon solids. In all of existence, we can see that light will cover solids in every corner of the universe. We will see each of these principles. Covering of fire upon solids, we see this in the principle of Hebrew word for kohen, which offers burnt offerings as denoted by the letter kaf. Similarly, in English, we see this principle in the word cook, as this implies fire upon solids. Candle, which implies a covering of fire upon solids. Coal, which implies a fire is covered upon solids and a flame is called coal. The 5th double letter, fe, the mouth and the throat. In Hebrew, we find this letter expressed by the words pe, mouth. In English, it's the letters P and F. This is clearly seen in the word cup, carry, united to the mouth. Similarly, we see the words pie, pot, people, social interaction by the mouth. We'll now analyze this principle in more depth. The principle is the mouth of the mouth, fe. The letters mem and mem sophi blended to create fe, such as the letter P and F, cannot be pronounced without use of the mouth. Similarly, every mouth in existence will be in core function designed to take solids and liquids. Air will be included. This also states that from the mouth to the throat, solids and liquids. We can see this clearly in words like food, fear. F identifies it as within us. Fun, failure. Oh, sorry. The principle is that fe, liquids, mem and mem sophi, solids. Liquids and solids will be together in the mouth, and it will be for every creature in existence. Similarly, we see this in words like pipe, by which has 2 mouths, P, from which pipe is placed in the earth, under the water, suspended in the air, takes with it these very same elements, liquids, solids, and air. Cup now identifies liquids or solids carried to the mouth. The 6th letter of the 7 double letters, resh, and form. In English, this is the letter R. All these principles were gathered into every form. Similarly, we see this in the Hebrew word itzer, form. In English, this word is seen such as form, write, wrote, ring. We'll now examine this principle in more depth. This principle states that every formation in existence will be created as a reflection of the principles, and that each form will contain, in the essence and reflected nature of its substance, the order of these things. It's been explained that each of these principles will be both the substance of and reflection of these principles. As such, every form in the universe will reflect the order of the word. In all corners of the universe it will be this way, as with all things alive and inanimate. As it is written, the universe is filled with his glory. The seventh of the seven double letters, Dalet, is the path without walls. In English, this is the letter D. In Hebrew, we see this words like Dalet, which means door. The one letter having no boundary was so infinite it was confused for God, and in olden times called Deus, from which we have words like deity and day. This principle shows that all of these aforementioned principles are expanded infinitely, and as stated, everything will be both the substance of and reflection of these principles. The principle, as stated, in addition to every form being a reflection of the principle, will be, in addition, every environment. This is because these principles expanded infinitely and in all directions. It has been stated everything will be both the substance of and the reflection of these principles. In English, a path without walls can be seen clearly in words like door, which is a path without walls. Dalet, bound from one side of a form, one side to another of form. We're at section 3, the 12 elemental letters. We've explained the 3 mother letters and now understand the 7 double letters. Let us explain the 12 elemental letters. And you can see the crown jewel has been filled out now at the top of the page in the tikkun. Now that know that each of these 12 letters are 3 parts of each mother letter. Similarly, we find 3 to each, making 12. For this reason, they're called elementals, as they're reflected principles of the aforementioned element. We'll now analyze them in depth. First, analyze the 3 letters associated to Shin. These are the letters Lamed, Yud, and Ayin. It's important to understand the method by which one extracts the secrets of the elementals. As we saw with the 7 double letters, their principles were concealed within the mother letters that surrounded them, and by the blendings of their interactions. Similarly, here we will find the principle concealed within the double or mother letter adjacent to it, as we demonstrated. Let us analyze this in depth. First of the 12 elemental letters, Lamed, is staff. In English, this is the letter L. In Hebrew, we see this in the word Lamed, staff. This is clearly seen in English in words such as leader, lord, length, long. All of these words have an association with measurement and progression. The principle of this letter is found in the letter Gemel. We see this letter is linked to the letter Gemel. It was understood this was a result of Shin, fire, and Aleph, air, interacting. As such, we find this principle contained in words such as light, by which is a reflection of this. Listen, loud, lightning, lighten, learn, lantern. The principle states that there will be polarity in the spectrum of energy's progression. It states the vibrations will vary degree by degree and reflect as such in the principles of energy and vibration. The second of the 12 elemental letters, Yud, is spirit. In English, this is the letters I, Y, and J. Similarly, we see this in the Hebrew word for life, Kai. In English, we see this principle expressed in words such as spirit, immortal, might, etc. If in the instance of I, it refers to the singular individual I. If in the instance of Y, it refers to the outer you, yours. If it's in the instance of J, it refers to expressive like joke or judge. The principle here is in the letter Shin. Thus we see that fire takes form of a Yud. Shin takes form of Yud. This principle states that the spirit of all living things comes from the side of fire, Shin, energy, and thus all things in existence will be sustained by energy. We see the letter Shin with 3 different Yuds in this secret, I, Y, and J, and these are the instances of singular, outer, and expressive. The principles will be in every spirit. The third of the 12 elemental letters, Ayin, is in English is letters E and O, and in Hebrew we see the word Ayin, which means eye. This letter has a direct link with the letter Kaf, which we learned is a covering for the light. Let's analyze this principle in depth. The principle is everything in existence that has eyes will see only a covering of light upon solids. Every eye will be designed for this function. In English, we see this in words such as see or eye. With the letter O, we see the instance of ocular or optic. Now we're on the 3 letters of Aleph. In English, the 3 letters are S, CH, and H, and in similar fashion, we'll extract the inner principles by analyzing the relation to double and mother letters. It's important to note that these principles existed before even the letters themselves, that these letters are but a vessel which reflected the order of its inner essence. The fourth of the 12 elemental letters is Samek, that's cycle. In English, this is the letter S. In Hebrew, we see this in the word Samek. The principle is found in the double letter Gem. As a result of air's interaction with fire, the cycles, which would be the measurement of progression, established itself. The principle as the measurement of progression creates cycles. Examples of this can be clearly seen in words like seasons, cycles. In existence, we find this principle manifesting in the various alterations of progression. This was the secret of Ouroboros, the serpent which ate its own tail. All beginnings will end, and all endings will begin. The fifth of the 12 elemental letters, Hey, behold. In English, this is the letter H, and in Hebrew, we see this in the word Hana, behold. In English, we see this in words such as help, or etc. We find the principle of this elemental letter is found in the mother letter Aleph. Thus, we will find examples of this letter's association with the air. The principle is divinity. Can we get a microphone check, folks? We'll see examples of this in words such as holy, Helios, Hermes, Hades, Hathor, etc. Examples of this word's associations with Aleph, height, which has a measurement in space, heavens, which is an expanse, helium, which is an atmospheric substance, hydrogen, again, another atmospheric substance, etc. The sixth letter of the 12 elemental letters, Ket, is fence. In Hebrew, this is seen in the word kanak. In English, is T and H. We see this in English in the following examples: channel, choose, cheek, check. We find this principle in the double letter bait. The principle is length and height. From the double letter bait, we find the principle of length and height. In English, this is demonstrated in the word chain, a measurement of length, cheek, length of the face, chin, longitude of the face. The three letters of Mem. These letters are Kof, Vav, and Nun, Nun, Vav, Kof. Each of these letters contains aspects of the mother letter Mem. In English, they are the letters N, O, and K, V-O-U-W. We'll now analyze the principles in depth. The seventh of the 12 elemental letters, Nun, soul or fish. In Hebrew, we see this as fish, as in Nuna. In Hebrew, we see this as soul in Nepesh. In English, it's the letter N. We see this in words such as navy, handles the sea, nigri, and tuna, which both imply fish. Noel, the soul of El. The principles fish will utilize, air houses water. We can see this principle reflected in every fish, from which all of these will be gathered into the water Mem, by which they'll utilize air, Aleph, housed, bait, in the water Mem. In Japanese, the word nigri means fish. In English, tuna means fish. The word salmon, a type of fish. The eighth of the 12 elemental letters, Vav. In English, these are the letters V, O, U, and W. In Hebrew, we see this in the word Vav, nail. In English, this is split into 4 letters, each covering a different aspect of the nail, and we'll now analyze this in more depth. The principle is bindings. V, the tip of the nail, directed intent. We can see this in words such as love, violence, vengeance, vigor. O is the top of the nail. We can see this in words such as door, bind a form from one side of the path without walls unto another. U is bindings between the nail. We can see this in words such as unite, union, etc. W is many bindings, and we can see this in words such as world, water, woman. The ninth of the 12 elemental letters, Kof, is skull. In Hebrew, we see it in words such as kadosh, holy, which is a person anointed upon the head. In English, this is the letters K and Q. We find its principle in the double letter Fe, and its secret is that every mouth in existence will be located in the skull of its respective life form. We'll now analyze this principle in more depth. In the principle, every skull will contain a mouth that will take in solids, air, and liquids, and eyes that will see, covering upon light upon solids. Every life form in existence will reflect this order both in the past, dinosaurs and more, and in all directions of the universe. We can now see the principles readily reflected in the environment around us. We will touch upon this point of recognizing the adornments of truth in a later section. Now we're at the final 3 elemental letters, the letters of Mem Sofit, which are Tet, Sadik, and Zain. In English, these are T, TZ, and Z. We'll analyze these in depth. The 10th of the 12 elemental letters is Tet, snake. In Hebrew, it's seen as the word shatan, which is described as a snake. In English, it's the letter T. It can be seen in words such as serpent, which identifies a snake. We'll now analyze this principle. The principle is informational exchange. We see that the serpent, Tet, is in the mystery of Fe, the mouth. Similarly, we find this principle of informational exchange in these examples. Technology, study, student, teach, teacher, etc. We learn from this that communication will be utilized by the mouth and its purpose will be in the conveying of information. The 11th of the 12 elemental letters, Tzadik, is pillar. In Hebrew, this is seen in the word Yitzer, which is form. In English, it's the letters T and Z, the principle for the letters found in the mother letter Mem Sofit. This is the secret of what is written, the pillars of the earth, Haaretz. The principle is pillars, and we can see this principle in English words such as tiger, striped, zebra, striped, zoo, bars, tower, pillar, linear construct, tree, pillar, linear construct. The 12th of the 12 elemental letters is Zain, weapon. This is seen in the Hebrew word Zain, weapon. In English, this is the letter Z. Its principle comes from the double letter Kaf, the fire which blended with the earth and created weapons. We'll now analyze this principle in depth. The principle is the destruction and repurposing. We can see this in English words: zombie destroys, Zika virus lethality, berserker weapon. In all parts of the universe, thus, we will find that fire forges earth in its interaction, and will thus find destruction and repurposing of Mem Sofit. Thus, we've established the secret of Hamet, this being the secret of 22 letters plus Mem Sofit, and the secret of the cross, the crown jewel, that's Tav, Vav, To. Having established this, we see the principles in every corner of the universe, beyond time, beyond space, as such, were pre-existent. On an elemental level, this would be solids, liquids, gases, of course, energy. As was stated earlier, the substance of and reflection of all will be in the order of the principles. Now we've understood and explained these principles sufficiently to explain an even greater secret. In the next section, we'll be explaining the secret origin of creation preserved by our sages, the secret of the apex of Lurianic Kabbalah, the secrets of the Zohar finally being realized in this generation. Blessed are we to have been permitted such things in such a time at the heels of the Messiah. Amen. End of the reading. We'll call it here. We'll pick up on page 380 tomorrow. Thank you, YIRAH, for this astonishing work. Do you guys have any thoughts or questions before we close for the evening? Sure. What does the question, why is Shin on top? Well, what do you mean on the side? Oh, yeah, sure. No, I understand what you're saying. So is the sun above you? Yeah, right. And so there's another comprehension to that up there. It's one build, but it's a different one down below, like the atmosphere. So for example, up there, light descends, but down here, light ascends. So on Earth, fire go up, water go down, but the rules don't apply the same above the mantle. Absolutely. And so you've seen him lay out the tree where the top three shin covers the Kater, Chokmah, and Bina, and then the dot covering the head. That's another reason why it's on top. Hmm.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any other questions? That was a good question. Try to think of the word like a transformer. They move around a little bit. You can see the same thing happen with the tribes when they're put into positions through the operation of precipitation, because sometimes water's going up and sometimes water's going down, right? Pretty cool. So is the fire above like the sun, or is the fire below like a campfire? Stuff like that. You can kind of take into consideration. Bruxem. Well, I read it fast to get through it extra quick, and I saved off 2 minutes, folks. Baruch Hashem, thank you for studying with me today. I hope I didn't run it too quickly. Any other thoughts or questions? If you can, make yourself a crown jewel. If you like, inspire others by taking a picture of it and posting it on the group. Many blessings, everyone. Shalom, Laila
Thank
Tov,
you.
Yom Tov.
Shalom, Laila Tov.
Shalom.
All good.
Shalom.
Shalom.